Greetings, viewers, and welcome to another exciting episode of Business in Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV with me, Muhammad M. Today, my guest here in the studio is Muhammad Coker, a business development trainer and a coach who will be taking us through the introduction to entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is very important as far as economic development is concerned. Then we'll be discussing on, the introduction to it. What are the integrities that you need to have before venturing into entrepreneurship, and then some of the importance it has in economic development. Mr. Mohammed, welcome to Business in Africa.
Thank you very much once again for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. We will try to start our discussion by knowing who our guest is. Can you please take us through your background, as far as entrepreneurship concerned and academic background.
Well, thank you very much once again for having me. My name is Muhammad Coker. I am a social entrepreneur. I am equally a business developer and an agribusiness specialist, and also the founder of the Agro Incubation Hub. I've been in the ecosystem for over 4 years now, and I have trained and coached over 400 youth across the country, on business development skills, business planning, financial literacy and management, and pitching as well. Financial literacy included because I am also a graduate from the University of the Gambia. I did accountancy in the School of Business and Public Administration.
The areas that you've mentioned are something that are very dear to my heart. Starting from pitching, business development, business plan and all that. So now we are discussing on the introduction to business. I think we start by who do you consider to be as an entrepreneur?
Well, first of all, entrepreneurship is not just an activity of setting up a business, with the aim of making profit. There's a lot more involved. It needs to be something that has value, that contributes to societal issues, and also, provide value to the people out there. No matter what product or service that you offer to the public, it has to mean something to the people. It also has to contribute to the economy as a whole. For example, if a fuller guy is into sales of banana, buying and selling of banana, and someone else is into the same thing, but the person processed the banana into something else in order to get another product out of the banana. If you want to compare the two, the one that is into the processing is considered as an entrepreneur, and not the one who is buying and selling, because there's a lot more involved in entrepreneurship. It needs creativity. It needs you as a person to be more competitive enough to come with some things that are very, very valuable to society at some point.
That's really important. Entrepreneurship has to be, adding value to something. And also, of course, solving a societal problem is that important when it comes to entrepreneurship. So we want to talk about, what inspired you to be a social entrepreneur yourself.
Well, first of all, like I said, I was doing accountancy as my major, and people sometimes are shocked because they thought I was going to become an accountant or so because I did accountancy. Well, personally for me, from my experience working with entrepreneurs across the country, I have figured out a lot of things that our young people need in this country. We've realized that there is a lot of startups in the Gambia. Working with them to turn their ideas into viable businesses and also seeing them thrive in those businesses is one motivation that kept me going. Secondly, over the years, I've working with different entrepreneurs from various industries. One of the things that struck me the most is having to see that most of these people earn as little as $2 per day. Sometimes, if let's say for farmers, most especially, they struggle a lot and they're still into subsistence farming. And a lot of concentration is actually put forward to entrepreneurs that are from different industries and not farmers, because looking at agriculture as the mainstay of the Gambian economy, it's an area that needs investment and it's an area that needs value. For example, what I mean by that is the players in the ecosystem need to actually provide 100% focus in that sector, so we can be able to support the farmers in the Gambia to shift from the subsistence farming practice to commercialization. Because from my experience working with these people, I mean, you realize that they, like I said, they earn a little amount, and they find it very difficult to provide for themselves the most basic needs. And realizing this, and knowing that they're still into subsistence farming, I feel like they need support. And it's not because they want to stick to that, it's because they have, they don't have the technical know-how, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the capacity provided to them. They don't have these opportunities. It's not just the business trainings, and sometimes it's important that you look forward to facilitating market linkages for these farmers, because if you have to work with them, most of them are illiterate. They don't know how to read and write, and the same business training you're providing for entrepreneurs that went through high school and formal education, to be precise, cannot be taught to someone who has never been to school. You have to come up with strategies that can support them to actually thrive and take farming as a business. So it's more like a behavioral modification that needs to be provided for these farmers.
That's a great motivation. It's a great motivation, and I believe that's quite interesting. That will inspire a lot of our young viewers to venture into social entrepreneurship, and also to be helping our farmers to be able to turn their subsistence farming, like you said, into a viable business. Now, so what are some of the groundworks that you think as a trainer in business development, the qualities that you need to do, the groundwork that you need to do before actually venturing into business?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Most of the things that an entrepreneur needs as qualities includes discipline, first of all. They also need to be very creative, because at the end of the day, if you're not creative, you might not be competitive, which is equally part of the qualities. As an entrepreneur, as one of the most important things or qualities is passion. If you are into something, it has to be something that you're very passionate about, something that that will bring that you can continue doing without getting tired. I think personally for me, that is what kept me going, passion. Because if you actually find your passion and transform it into an innovative business to solve real life problems, not only will you thrive, but you definitely reach the highest of heights. So the $1,000,000 question is, what is their passion? So they need to possess that passion for them to be able to move from one stage to another.
Another important thing that I've realized in the Gambia or in Africa at large is most businesses, they start, and then they start operation within a short period of time, which is the lack of sustainability in most of the business. So what do you think is the cause of that scenario in Africa?
So consistency is one of the things that I would consider a major problem for most businesses in the Gambia. Everybody wants to do different things at the same time. You want to be doing horticulture, you want to be rearing cattle, you equally want to be doing poultry at the same time, which is not bad, but so long as you want to build a product or come up with a product as a business afterwards, you need to build a brand from that particular engagement. People need to know you of what you provide. But sometimes you don't blame the entrepreneurs themselves. They are not provided with the right capacity. It is only in the Gambia where you see an entrepreneur, be trained on business development from 5 different institutions within the same ecosystem, and everybody would claim, okay, we have trained 5,000 entrepreneurs. Where are they? Only one of the few would be considered a successful entrepreneur, out of the many entrepreneurs that we have, who actually would stand before you and say they have gone internationally recognized. So the reason being that most of the business developments we have usually it's startups. We have less acceleration programs, less scale-up programs to provide these entrepreneurs an opportunity to move from one stage to another. I think this is also another challenge that we really need to look at as an ecosystem to support the young people we have in business. So to add on to that, the consistency part, another challenge for most of these entrepreneurs in terms of consistency is most of them, people start businesses for different reasons. Some want to earn a living. Some start because they've seen their friends start a business and they're making it and they want to do it for themselves. Some identify a societal problem and decided to come up with a solution to the problem, right? But because of those reasons, most of the time that's what keeps people going. Like I said, some people identify a passion or maybe have a skill on something and want to transform it into business. There are different reasons. But at the end of the day, if you cannot continue with that, because maybe probably someone else started, or maybe there are lots of people who are into it, and you're afraid of the competition, you decided to stop. Or maybe you're an opportunity, you saw something else that you see probably your friends are thriving at, and you want to also shift from where you are to another spot.
I think that's very
It's
important.
a very big issue.
Like personally, I would tell people African Renaissance. The Renaissance that is. I'm so passionate about the Renaissance of Africa. That's why I am. I have a feeling always to be pushing harder for African Renaissance TV network. So now you've mentioned about business plan. At the beginning of the discussion, how important is planning when it comes to business?
As the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. So, business plan is not a priority for any business to start up. I've seen most people before they start up their businesses. From my experience, they would call and say, "I want to start a business, so I need a business plan for you to be able to start a business." Business plan development is not something that that is easy. Developing a business plan needs attention, needs time. You have to be able to be exposed to the business that you do. What I mean by the exposure is you don't just come up with an idea and decide to start it up. You have to conduct market research. You have to be able to identify the people that you're going to be providing your services or your products to. You have to be able to know the market. All these things are necessary factors that needs to be considered, as an entrepreneur before you start. Now, after you start, that's what we call a prototype. You do a prototype and then you provide the prototype to the people that you're going to offer the services or the products to. And then you seek feedback. At the end of the day, if you get positive feedback, obviously you get both positive and negative. So you learn from the negative and you improve on the positive. So if you have both feedbacks, at the end of the day, it would help you to be able to know what needs to be improved on in the business and what needs to change. So at the end of the day, you would be able to start up the business and maybe how to call it, like they say, start small and grow big. Afterwards, then you can think about now developing a business plan in the next 3 years.
That's quite interesting. You need to get feedbacks from the people that you intend to serve, because I believe personally, business or entrepreneurship is about solving a problem. So when you're solving a problem, is the people that you're serving. So that's quite important. So my next question will have lead me to the importance of market research in business, like you've highlighted in the first question. So now, but we'll take our first commercial break. So when we're back, we'll continue from there. Sure. Welcome back from Restaurant Commercial. If you're just joining us, this is Business in Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV Network with me, Muhammad Well, today my guest is Muhammad Coker. Like I said, we're discussing on the introduction of entrepreneurship. So, welcome back from Restaurant Commercial.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Before going to break, we were discussing about some of the importance of entrepreneurship.
Okay, so if you listen to my previous deliberation on entrepreneurship, I say something quite important, which was that entrepreneurship is not just an activity of setting up a business and making profit. Actually, the reward for entrepreneurship is profit, but it is beyond that. It has to do with coming up with societal issues, that would definitely contribute to economic development. What I mean by that is you've seen that most of the people that venture into business or entrepreneurship, at the end of the day, there's one reward that everybody is looking forward to. Despite all the societal issues and the value creation and everything, there's one thing that is considered as a reward, which is profit, right? At the end of the day, that process of like business, having more businesses in the country, do with coming up with societal issues, that would definitely contribute to economic development. What I mean by that is, you've seen that most of the people that venture into business or entrepreneurship, at the end of the day, there's one reward that everybody is looking forward to. Despite all the societal issues and the value creation and everything, there's one thing that is considered as a reward, which is profit, right? At the end of the day, that process of business, having more businesses in the country, gives more revenue to the government, because at the end of the day, these businesses pay tax to the government, and that's one way it contributes to economic development. Secondly, you've seen that the Gambia is mostly importing a lot of products from other countries, which, however, contributes negatively to the economy, because the more the imports we have at the end of the year, the lesser the rate of the Gambian dollars, which is very, very, very disturbing for a country. If you look at the CFA and the Gambian dollars, the difference between the previous year, 2 years back, there's a huge difference from 420 to around 5 something now. The reason being that a lot of products are being imported in these countries, and it negatively affects our economy as a whole. So if there are more producers in the Gambia, I think that's one thing we lack. If we have more of manufacturers than just people that buy and sell or customize, I think that's another way that we can actually boost the economy, from the private sector.
Talking about the economic development, you are someone that is so passionate about agriculture, agro business, of course. As the founder of Agro Incubation Hub. So now take us through what do you think is a necessity for the government to encourage entrepreneurs to venture into agriculture as a business?
Yes. So before I started the Agro Incubation Hub. Yes. So before I started the Agro Incubation Hub, like I said, I was in the ecosystem for 4 years, working with players in the ecosystem, including international organizations, where I was able to encounter with a lot of entrepreneurs in the Gambia. And looking at the government's contribution, which is quite important, despite the progress that is being made currently in the ecosystem, I think there's a lot more that needs to be contributed. One of which is providing more opportunities to the young people. The opportunities not only centered on trainings. It's quite important to provide capacity building for youth. Yes, I agree 100% to that. But at the end of the day, imagine from my experience, I've seen government distributing monies to these rural communities, especially in marginalized communities within the regions, providing $3,000 for every household, marginalized communities. So if you provide those monies, it's like millions, to be precise. You provide those monies, split it among the household. How is that helping? How is that helping the country as a whole? What if those monies are used to build manufacturing companies and use the youth that are within those communities, provide them with employment opportunities, so they can be able to, provide something for themselves? Because all of the other money come balanga nekadi mai gym all the time. Yes. So before you teach someone, before you give someone fish, you teach them how to fish, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't bother giving them because they will provide for themselves. So this is what the country needs. We need more opportunities. One of which is more important is infrastructure. And manufacturing companies is one thing we lack in the Gambia. What does the Gambia manufacture? Is there anything that you know that the Gambia manufactures that goes international? And if we have anything, it's not because we don't have the capacity. We have the capacity, but we don't have the capacity, but we don't have the resources, the necessary resources that we need to be able to have those opportunities, to improve the economy, So basically, that's one of the things that we really need.
That's quite important in a way. The government needs to invest in its use, both in capacity and also. But I think the government, one thing that the government can do is to, to provide, the financial, needs financial asset for the, for the youth to venture into entrepreneurship. Because most people will tell you, I have this idea, but then, I lack the finance to start the business that I have in mind. So, what's your thought about that?
Yes, so I wouldn't only say the government. I would also include the players in the ecosystem. This advice goes to everyone, including the government and the business support organizations. We need to support the entrepreneurs that we currently have instead of adding more. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have more startup programs. We should, but we should now concentrate. We should actually launch programs where the people that also went through the startup programs and are now considered as SMEs or MSMEs, to provide them with opportunities for them to accelerate, at least so these entrepreneurs can actually get to the global market. So because if they don't have the right brand, if they're not provided with the right opportunities, with the right acceleration programs, they might not be able to get to that stage, to improve the economy. But if they go international, if they reach the global market, it's going to improve the economy because they will be exporting these products to the other countries,
and that will increase the value of
exactly.
the currency that they have. That is something that I've always been, it has always been my thought that to encourage exportation in the Gambia, what Gambia needs is not a whole lot of entrepreneurs, but entrepreneurs that are able to club together, to join together to produce. Like for example, if an entrepreneur is producing egg, you are rearing poultry, you're having poultry, which is producing egg. To club all those that are producing eggs together so that they will be able to produce more and then export. How do you think that can help the economy?
That's what I always encourage some entrepreneurs to do. But in the Gambia, you will realize that people don't like to partner. There is limited partnership. Like people don't really like to come together because they have the mindset that they have. Okay, if they come together, they're gonna split the resource. What if I do what I'm doing alone and get my money by myself? I think that's what we are really focused on. And the truth is, partnership brings you more opportunities, brings you more money, and it also helps your business to grow bigger and reach other markets. Because at the end of the day, if you put heads together and partner, this will bring you more opportunities, more resources for you to be able to expand the business. So partnership is what I would encourage the entrepreneurs that we have out there to actually venture into. Let them explore partnership with other people. It does not matter who the person is, so long as there is trust and there is an agreement on paper. I'm not saying a verbal agreement. They need to have like a partnership deed, an agreement that needs to be done, that this is the number of shares that we are going to have in this agreement, depending on the resources that they actually bring for the partnership. So that's one way that they can really improve on expanding, especially in terms of their engagements.
That's quite important. Personally, I've always been been passionate about clubbing, like to put joint businesses together in order for them to be able to produce more. Because at the end of the day, like you mentioned earlier, it's not only about making profit, but also to add value, and also to to help the economy improve. When the economy improves, it improves for everybody. When we are able to export outside the country, it's developing the country and it's developing the business too.
Sometimes before importing all these products out there, I feel like there's a need for other approaches, other strategic approaches that can, support the government in various ways. One of the ways is franchising. I don't know if you know what that means. If you look at certain brands, certain global brands in the world, they are very, very big businesses. Yeah. And sometimes instead of working with those businesses to order certain things directly to the Gambia, it might be a little bit expensive. What if we franchise those products? For example, if you look at how to call it, KFC, it's in almost every other country and not the Gambia. Yeah, I'm using that as an example because it has been franchised in other countries, in Africa. So what if we also introduce franchising in the Gambia? I'm not saying it's not in existence, but I have not come across any so far. Um, um, if my memory serves me well, but I feel like the government's contribution can be through that. It might not be the government; it can also be the private sector because we cannot depend on the government on all these developments. We also need to contribute our quota in stimulating the growth of the economy, and that is the reason why young people are also involved in businesses, myself included. The reason why I'm supporting young people to improve on their business is because I want to contribute my quota, and this is the little I can do. Yeah. So if the government or other partners also look into franchising, it's really going to enable us to have more opportunities, more brands introduced to the Gambia, so we can be able to improve the economy.
That's really important. I've seen a lot of those kinds in several countries. Like, you can talk about Tata. Tata is a company that is not in Senegal, but they have their brand. They have, a business that is started in Senegal, in India, a lot of countries. So now there are lots of challenges that entrepreneurs comes with, that entrepreneurship comes with. As someone that has been, going around with entrepreneurs, you have been involved in so much, activities with entrepreneurs. What are some of the challenges that you think are hindering the development of entrepreneurship in this country?
First of all, I would like to talk about the entrepreneurs themselves. One of the things that they actually challenge with is the availability of resources, which is one, finances. Another thing is infrastructure. There is less infrastructure in the Gambia, and I want to believe there is a need for investment in infrastructure, especially for the private sector, businesses to be precise. There is also need to. There's another challenge is the policy we have in the Gambia. I don't know if it's been ignored or there is no policy. Because it's something that is very important. There is need for the ground to be leveled by the government in such a way that we will have more investors coming in from other countries, since they might not be able to provide all the investment to the young people out there. Let them clear the ground for the other people out there to be much more eager and willing to invest. But if there are policies that are not friendly, those people will not invest their resources in this country. And this is one of the major challenges that we are faced with in the Gambia. So if those things, or if those root issues are not really sorted, we would continue to face tremendous challenges, and gradually, instead of it being sorted, it will become even worse than it is.
There is another problem, that is tax, the increment of tax, on businesses in the Gambia here. So tax is something that is helping the economy, but the national treasury, that is the income that we are earning as a country. But I believe it's also affecting entrepreneurship in the country. How do you think that tax increment is affecting businesses in the country?
Yes, so tax is another thing. The government is mandated to actually collect taxes from businesses. There are direct and indirect taxes here. But for businesses in the Gambia, another way that government can support the entrepreneurs through taxes is provide like a rule or a regulation where these startup businesses that have nothing yet, to maybe waive their taxes a certain number of years before they start paying, because you realize that the moment you register your business and then you start making money, you pay tax. The moment you have a spot where you are selling, they come to you, tax duties. So it's really crazy for these entrepreneurs, knowing that they live from hand to mouth. Whatever that they sell, sometimes they can't even reinvest the money or maybe save it, because they at the end of the day use it for those things, for consumption, and also for the little things that they pay. So tax is something that we should not actually say it's the major issue. Yeah, entrepreneurs we know that we're supposed to pay tax. Everybody pays tax, but the increment of these taxes, is also another challenge that we are faced with, and this is what the government needs to also look into. And I would encourage them as well to see how best they can also bring the tax down for young entrepreneurs that are trying to make it in their businesses, so they can be able to be motivated enough to register their business. I think that's one of the reasons why most of these businesses are not registered. Because even when you register, when you pay, people don't even look. That is why we have duplications of names, in businesses. There's no regulation. Everything is just scattered. The moment you go to these government parastatals to get these things done, the moment you pay the money, that's it. They don't care.
That's where
they don't even look at what you need to pay. At some point, as an entrepreneur, you need to know the amount of tax you're supposed to pay before the year ends. But someone would come and ask you to pay something, you pay, and then someone else come and say you need to pay. Sometimes you're confused. There's a lot that needs to be done. It's not just the increment of the tax, but the regulations itself and how it is done. It's one way that we need to look at.
That's quite important. Tax and other issues that are regarding paying money to the government is affecting businesses. Also, making business entrepreneurs not to register their business. So now we will change a little bit into the activities of startup in Agro Incubation Hub. Can you take us through the activities that your institution is involved in?
Yes. So the Agro Incubation Hub is a non-profit social enterprise that supports the development of innovative and profitable agri-enterprises by providing them with smart agribusiness development programs in two folds. One is by training them on climate smart technologies, and by extension provide them with agribusiness development skills, enabling facilitate establishment of market makings for them to be able to shift from subsistence farming practice to commercialization. So currently we are focused on the horticulture value chain, and we are training farmers on how to actually on different climate smart techniques. One of which we are currently doing is how to manufacture their own compost, because most of these chemical fertilizers imported from other countries, are very expensive, and it also has a fertilizer content, and certain countries in the world don't really allow the exportation of products that has a fertilizer content. They most of the time prefer organic products, and with these chemical fertilizers that they are selling to us is what is actually giving the products a fertilizer content. So what if these farmers are trained on how to manufacture their own compost so that they can be able to save their cost and also contribute to climate change mitigation? So we are also introducing to them business development using the farmer business school methodology, so that they can be able to shift from subsistence farming practice to commercialization, because most of them farm to feed themselves and their families. So one way we can be able to help them is to change their mindset so that they can take farming as a sustainable business and not just a
that's quite great activity that you are involved in. I think that these are things that the country needs, to be able to to be food self-sufficient and also to mitigate climate change, like you said. Now you also do business training, business development training for entrepreneurs. So can you take us through that activity that also as an individual, training businesses and entrepreneurs on how to sustain their business and also improve their.
There are different categories of business. As a business trainer, from my experience, what I've learned is what you train someone who has just an idea, and what you train someone who is considered an SME, like a small medium enterprise, can be quite different. Yeah, some certain things are similar, but can be quite different. Those that are on the idea stage and those that are on the startup stage, as well as those that are on the scale-up stage or SME stage, are different. If we categorize, what we do is we categorize these different businesses, these different entrepreneurs, and this is when we provide them with such certain trainings. So from my experience working with these entrepreneurs and training them, usually what we do is we tend to bring ourselves down to their level and understand what they need in their businesses first before training them. That's basically what I do personally. Before I coach or train you, I do more of the questioning by pulling a lot of information from you before I can be able to help you, to provide you with my opinions on, from my experience and expertise on what I think can help you improve on your business. So one of the strategies I do is that, like having to know them better so that they can be supported. I train them on how to improve on their business if they are on the idea stage, like idea generation. There are certain people that have no idea, but if there are certain specific trainings, modules that are being developed, if they're trained on that, it helps them, it forces them to come up with an idea, using the design thinking methodology. There are different methodologies anyway. If it is if they're in the startup stage, that's when you now help them to get to the scale up stage, by training them on how to take their take their businesses to another. You see, I'm very used to farmers now, but I still work with entrepreneurs. I recently trained about 6 entrepreneurs on how to pitch, who are actually startups, and one of the challenges they were very much faced with is finances, and realizing that this is one of the things that they're faced with. I decided just to train them how to pitch their idea, because it's important that you are able to present your idea to investors in order to be able to attract funds. And out of these, all of them were able to win competitions, and it enabled them to actually have a total amount of about $10,000 US, which really helped them to be able to expand on their businesses. I mean, they're all out there. Funnily, all of them are women, very, very passionate ones. And today, they are improving in their businesses, and they are shift from idea stage to startup stage, and they're still working towards getting to another stage.
Yeah, that's quite a great achievement, that you have made. Well, it's getting interesting, but then, I think, time has, due to time constraint, we'll have to, end the interview here. Thank you for, for honoring our invitation once again. Well, viewers, this will bring us to the end of our programs. Like I said earlier, this is Business in Africa here on Africa Renaissance TV network with me, Muhammad Well, if you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so by subscribing to our channel, and also follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok at African Renaissance TV network. Well, this is all what we have for you. Till we come your way next time. I am Muhammad.